YTPC, Backwoods Piper 1, smoking a Paranelli. It's a seconds, and pretty nice little smoker. And in it I got some Medal of Valor. But tonight, it's Wednesday night, hump day, and I decided I'd do a little quick tour of my shop. I got inspired to do so by, Bearded Tamper. Anyway, this is my messy shop. I've been working in it for the last 3 days, stripping some gun stocks and sanding them down, putting wood filler on them, sanding the wood filler off, and I'll be getting ready to spray these things the first thing in the morning. And anyway, I'll give you a quick tour, and believe me, it's a mess. I'm going to turn you around here and start out with my desk area, and you will see that it is a mess, and it's always a mess. And you'll recognize that because this is where I do a lot of my videos, sitting here at my desk. And you can see it is a mess. Cluttered up mess. Printer, my book rack, catch-all book rack, along with everything else around here is a catch-all when I'm not using it. And over here, in this corner we have the Challenger. No, this is I store all my fishing stuff right there. My fishing rods. And this was my original workbench years and years and years ago. And now it's a catch-all. I keep all my food processing. So when I harvest a deer, and that's for grinding it, and a meat mixer, and a vacuum sealer, and a dehydrator. And other than that, it's just a catch-all. This is the entry door. That's the only garage door I use anymore, and I don't use it real often. And this here, just cluttered up mess, that's my welding table, where I have to do some light welding, and got a little wire feed. And that's my little air conditioner. Over here is my this is a room where I keep my compressor and my dust collector. And here's my compressor. It's a 60-gallon upright. It's a, I don't know, 5 or 7 horsepower. I don't remember which now. I've had it a couple of years. Wore out the old one. And of course you can see I store junk in here. Gun cases, that's my dust collector. And my dust collector, normally they have big bags and stuff on it. Well, I pipe mine right outside, so all the dust and stuff just goes outside. And that's the compressor room. So dadgum noisy, I put it in a separate room. It's all insulated, but it's still pretty loud. And out here, this used to be my shipping table when I used to do a lot of mail order restoration work, which I no longer do. And now you can see it's just a catch-all. Like I said, anything I'm not using just catches all the other stuff that's in my way. Here's my table saw. I'm not using it, so of course, yes, it's a catch-all. And this little project here is one I'm going to do for my son. He's a lineman, and he got these off some job, and he wants me to make a plaque out of them. You can see these are huge. I mean, I have big hands, and this thing is huge. So that's off some power line they were replacing. And these boxes here, these are what I get my gun stocks in from the gun company to refinish. Here's another bank of shelves that's just got a lot of stuff on it, some leather working stuff. I got that box down right there. That's my buffing compound for when I buff the gun stocks out. Paper towels, of course, and just miscellaneous other junk. And this is another bench. As you can see, it's quite cluttered. This one I did a lot of restoration work. This is where I did all my assembly and disassembly of the firearms, taking the wood off and taking the guns apart and rebluing them and all that kind of stuff. And of course now, like I say, I've been working in here quite a bit, so it's a total mess. And since I don't do much restoration work on complete guns anymore, it's a catch-all. And this here is some of my leather working. Well, it's my leather for my leather working that I do a little bit of, not much. And it's sitting on a table here, and that's actually, these are beaver boards for when I catch beavers and skin them out and stretch them. That's the boards I put them on. That's my little leather holder when I'm sewing leather that I made. And this is my original drill press, little teeny one. And I got it on a roll around table. It's got a cabinet built into it. And I have since replaced it with that big dude over there. That's a Grizzly 17.5 incher or something. I can't remember what the size is, but it's a big one. And over here we have a metal bender for bending steel rod and stuff when I make different things. And this piping here, this is for my dust collection. And this hose here goes over to my table saw. I connected in there. That's my cold air return on my outdoor wood furnace. As you can see, the dust collector unit, the piping goes all the way around, goes around over underneath that bench over there, goes over to this first workstation, and there's an outlet there for the dust, and I'll show you the rest of it here in a minute. This is my wood buffer. This is what I do all the high shine buffs with on my gun stocks. And this section over here is my reloading area. I've got a little bit of brass set aside, you know, just in case the big one. And this is a progressive reloader. That's for doing when I do production run on ammo that I shoot a lot, like my pistol ammo and some rifle ammo, and more reloading components. That's a tumbler there that I clean all my reloading brass with. Here's another outlet for my dust collector for when I had another guy working here. And this is another part of my workbench that goes all the way down the full length of this wall. And this is, of course, you know, miscellaneous screws and things. Another pegboard with miscellaneous tools and stuff on it. Chainsaw chains, a few files. And this little gem right here is what I use when I'm sanding wood. I swing it over here and put it in front of my bench like this, and I turn it on, and then when I'm sanding the gun stocks, all the dust comes down in here and gets piped right outside. And of course, when I'm not running any machinery, I have a radio that I can sometimes get a signal and listen to music. And this is where I do most of my sanding at. It's got my sandpaper, and I use these caulk blocks. I buy sheet caulk, rubberized caulk, and I make my own sanding blocks. And these are some files and some of my artist brushes that I use when I do grain ends on stocks that have cracks and breaks and things like that in there. I actually paint grain in it and make it look like the surrounding area so you can't see the glue line or the crack. And this is some of the graining powders and things that I use. It comes in a lot of different colors. But I have many colors. Repair dust, that's for filling holes with super glue and sawdust. This is an old paper cutter I got from an old school that was being torn down, and I use that for, believe it or not, cutting my sandpaper. Fortunately, I've never cut my finger with it. And this is a rack of my sandpapers. I have quite a variety of sandpaper because I use a lot of it. Miscellaneous clamps for when I'm doing other woodworking projects. Racks that I made, my spray guns I use for spraying the gun stocks. Miscellaneous projects. This is an old table that used to belong to my grandfather, and as you can see right here, it's come apart, and I'm getting ready to fix that one of these days. Keyword there's one of these days. And these are my holders for all the different kinds of stocks and forearms and things that I refinish. And yes, you need a variety of them, and you can't just go out and buy them. Everything you see in there I made. And this is where I do all my spraying. As you can see, that's my color wall. If I'm checking the color on something, I just spray a little bit on there to make sure I'm getting the right color. I don't have to do that much anymore, but. And this big fan right here, this thing will move like 3,200 cubic feet of, or cubic inches or something of air per minute. I mean, when I turn this fan on, if the front door isn't shut tight, it'll suck the door wide open. And I put furnace filters in here, and that keeps most of it out of there. I mean, some of it still gets through, but I don't have to breathe the stuff because it sucks it out of here too fast. And that's just a few of the stains that I use. And there's quite a few of them up there. And this is where I strip all my wood at. That tank right back there is a rinse tank. After I get done stripping them, I rinse them in that tank. And this is where I store some of my finishes and extra spray guns and some extra stains, a lot of different stains, different kinds of spray bombs, which I use for toners. You can see it says tone finish and stuff. I don't use those real often. Most of the time I use an alcohol-based stain. That's the kind of wood filler I use. And all my wood filler I make black. That's the thinner for my finish. That's some hardener and an empty lighter fluid thing. And then here's my drying room. When I get done spraying these things, I bring them in here, and I just sit them up here on these racks. Now when I start, before I start sanding on them, they're sitting up here like this, hanging off of nails. I just hang them off nails off of these holders. And this little form here is one that I just got done refinishing for a fella. And that's a flat finish type on that. And most of them I do are gloss, but there are quite a few flat finishes I got to do. But that's what this is. That's where my drying rack is. And once they get dry, then I'll hang them back up on those nails. But that's how I keep them when I'm spraying them. I lay them in there and I swap them around from side to side and up and down and everything to keep the finish from sagging in one area too much. And back over here, of course, that's my gun safe where I keep all my own personal guns. And my pipes, pipe cabinet, my can collection. And that, my friends, is a tour of my shop. And the next time I get it cleaned up, I'll make a it's clean video. Oh yeah, there's my bandsaw. Forgot about that. There's my bandsaw. And I like Grizzly tools. They work fine for what I do. And that's another small dust collector. I use that for my bandsaw. Got a 6x48 inch belt sander that I use a lot. I use that sander there more than any other, probably any tool in the whole shop. And this is a little 2x72 inch belt sander. And I use that primarily to sharpen my scrapers when I'm scraping off the old finish. And I guess that's about it. Well, there's a little old wood stove that I completely restored that thing. If I can get it out of there. Well, anyway, that's just an old wood stove, little wood stove, and it's called a laundry stove, and I had a guy give it to me, and so I restored it. But anyway, that is that's the extent of my shop, and hope you enjoyed the tour. It wasn't much. It's quite a bit of a mess in here, but that's what happens when you work in them a lot. But like I say, once I get her cleaned up, I'll you know, bring it back and show it to you. Show you what it looks like when no work's being done. Anyway, Backwoods Piper 1, you guys have a great night. Later.